Well, hello once more. This is the fourth and final spike. Welcome to your last dose of COVID-idiocy. A Sunday, the 10th of May, 0206 hours. No man is an island, but what about women? My mother lives just 35 minutes by ferry from the Scottish mainland. The island she dwells on has a mystical timelessness because irrespective of what time of day you depart for the island, it is always early 1957 when you arrive. A scenic and mostly coastal road runs around the island in a broad circle, bisected by a road leading back to the harbour and only town. At the T-junction on the west of the island where these arterial roads meet, the world's single most irrelevant road sign points north, south and east. All three destinations read, the harbour. The island is famous for its beef, which is usually 28 days matured, that being the minimum time to get the cattle off the island to the nearest abattoir and back again. The island's speciality is blackened beef, i.e. incinerated in a frying pan at maximum heat for at least half an hour. However, most of the beef is slow cooked until it is meltingly soft, especially if someone else is having the steak, because they will then be monopolising one of the island's rare sets of teeth. During World War II, the harbour was the secure base for all submariners serving the Atlantic Fleet. My father was a petty officer in the submarine service because he was very small-minded and liked to submerge himself in his work. He met Ethel Gray, aged 18, at a dance. He called the following day, but the door was answered instead by Betty Gray, aged 16. Not fussy, my father. The rest, as they say, is history. When Dad retired, he took Betty back to the island to see if he could get his money back. Eventually, he succumbed to her cooking, but she resides there to this day. Betty, now aged 94, is at a loss to comprehend how a Chinese virus could possibly have arrived there, because the last time there was any problem with visitors from overseas, they'd come ashore in longboats. I've been visiting the island for 30 years. I delight in taking my mother out for a meal because, without fail, after perusing the menu for not less than 15 minutes, she will only ever order haddock and chips with peas and a cup of tea. Now, occasionally, she will go mad and order a fish supper, which is haddock and chips with peas and a cup of tea, plus a slice of bread and butter. Now, apart from the threat she perceives from the targeted military aggression against the island and its strategic, if somewhat dented, Norman castle by the Central Committee of the Communist Party of the People's Republic of China, she's also puzzled why her carers are dressed like extras from Contagion or Outbreak. I mean, as she says, she hardly goes out, so she's unlikely to infect any of them. Actually, she never goes out. At 94, she has a collection of maladies traceable to a lifetime dietary regime, which is 50-50 by weight, haddock and chips and refined sugar. By rights, she's at least 25 years past her use-by date. Arthritis, poor balance and a limited amount of vision make it impossible for her to do much more than totter between bedroom, bathroom and lounge. She is also, alas, as deaf as a post. As soon as she has identified who is telephoning from the display on her bat phone, she uses her prodigious memory to regale us with tales from childhood. If we shout the odd word like rhubarb, or drop a saucepan on the floor every 5 minutes or so, we can set the alarm for 55 minutes, leave her on speakerphone and get back to cooking the dinner. She is as happy as Larry. She is perfectly equipped to deal with the current pandemic. She's been in lockdown for years. We will now sing hymn number 233. It's The End of the World as We Know It by REM. Monday the 22nd of June, 23:41 hours. The coronavirus bicycles. Should we all be pedalling our own canoe? Fellow protesters. Lorraine has put a little weight on during lockdown, although I swear there is no injunction in the wedding ceremony to love, honour and feed. As she is keen to take more exercise, I was lobbied to fix her bicycle, which had a puncture, but I have been unable to find the puncture repair kit, which was her Christmas present last year. Now I think about it, the Christmas pudding, which she detests, was unusually chewable this year. Okay, well, sadly, at least 4 of our neighbours have bicycles, which we could only afford if we sold one of the children. The bicycles in question are, of course, state-of-the-art, roughy-tufty, electronically assisted mountain bikes with hydraulic brakes and shock absorbers in the saddle tube, 18-speed gearboxes, gas suspension, and a 100-mile range even when pulling a fully loaded 4-berth caravan. Based on their retail price and the eye-watering cost of annual servicing, which exceeds what I pay for both cars, they are obviously handcrafted from carbon fibre, platinum, conflict diamonds and so on by billionaire Ferrari mechanics and powered by miniaturised nuclear fast breeders reactors fuelled exclusively with radioactive isotopes of gold. The moment, of course, that Lorraine heard that these were e-bikes, she wanted one. Well, you can take the lass out of Yorkshire, but... As soon as lockdown was relaxed, I dispatched Lorraine with the injured bicycle wheel to find a bicycle shop. She returned in no time at all, jubilant at having found an establishment in Leominster which not only repaired the puncture, but threw in another wheel, a frame, a battery, a motor and a wicker basket for a 4-figure sum. Then the weather turned, and she hasn't been out on it since. It's currently cost us about £250 per mile. I calculated it would actually have been cheaper per mile to drive from London to Birmingham and back again in a brand new 400 brake horsepower BMW M1 140i and then throw the car away. Although initial relaxations on lockdown didn't come into force until Monday the 15th of June, the coronavirus epidemic was over in Tenbury Wells by Saturday the 14th. The evidence is clear. Well, firstly, it started raining again. More significantly, Homo tenburyensis, extinct since the last ice age, because it ignored the advice, don't wear that saber-toothed tiger skin indoors, dear, you won't get the benefit when you go out, has been sighted in its native environment again. Superficially indistinguishable from Homo sapiens, tenburyensis evolved before decimalisation and betrays itself by an inability to stand anywhere near 2-metre social distance markings. Gregarious by nature, tenburyensis likes to shop in large family groups with proper respect for tribal elders who always accompany them on their shopping forays. The male of the species likes to show his hunting prowess by carefully picking up and examining all the pre-packaged trays of beef mince one by one to find the cheapest. Satisfied with his selection, this mature silverback, maskless and still bent closely over the chiller cabinet, yawns luxuriantly and clears his throat to signal his evident contentment. His mate brushes past me to talk with another dominant female in the troop. They stand opposite each other at the point in the aisle where staff are stacking goods on the shelves, allowing almost a full half a metre between them. Signalling your intention to wait for them to move away is greeted by their typically friendly invitation to come and squeeze in between them, because after all, They are both expressing their concern for the more vulnerable by wearing face masks around their necks. I'll give it about another week before they all revert to greeting each other the way dogs do, only probably with slightly less mounting. As you may know, I have been struggling with worsening myopia for a while. I'm not going blind, despite what my mother told me, but my days of forging Ausweis passes to persuade Frau Sturmbannführer that I can shop before curfew are now over. I can't see the characters on my notebook screen with sufficient clarity to avoid spelling mistakes or missing punctuation. I have now been driven to compose in Google Docs. Spell check in a bigger font, paste it into Notepad to strip the formatting, and then copy it into Gmail, which unfortunately now seems to come with its own kind of basic predictive text. So I would, in closing, like to fake an apology for previous piss takes. I have a mere 3 bears after moving in started on the bathroom. I'm now in the abscess of cubing a shower testicle. I'm sure that should be reading testing a shower cubicle, but I can't make the writing out. And installing a compact laboratory and a high-level cistercian with an echo flush and a low-level panneau chocolat. An old pine chest of ladies' undergarments will be repurposed as an insanity unit for the new porcelain stink. But before all that, I'll have to chisel my piles off the wall and get plastered. Well, I think after all that, as I generally say to the Memsahib just before bedtime, bottoms up. Damn, it's empty again.